Admiral Kate Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderbolt, watching the swirling blue light fade as they came out of hyperspace. The journey from Earth had taken them 3 weeks, but it felt like a lifetime. She looked at the stars around them and knew they were now in alien space, far from home. Captain Ryan Hughes checked the screens on his ship, the UES Lightning Strike. His fingers moved quickly over the controls as data came in from the sensors. What he saw made his heart beat faster. There were ships out there, lots of them, and they were not human ships. "Admiral, we have contact," Ryan said into his radio. "Long-range sensors show alien vessels near the 4th planet. Big ones, looks like a whole fleet." Kate felt her jaw tighten. Earth's spies had been right. The Zephyrians were here, just as the intelligence reports had said. They were planning to attack Earth, but humanity had decided to strike first. For 2 years, Earth had been building this war fleet in secret. 12 big battleships, 30 smaller destroyers, and dozens of support ships. All of them were equipped with the best weapons and shields that human science could make. Commander Lisa Bennett sat at her station, working on the approach plans. She had spent months studying alien ship movements and knew how they liked to fight. Her job was to make sure the human fleet moved in the right way when the battle started. Lieutenant Jake Sullivan wore headphones and listened to the alien radio signals. The computers were working hard to translate what the aliens were saying. Most of it was routine talk about patrols and supplies, but Jake could hear something else in their voices. They sounded confident, maybe too confident. "They think they own this place," Jake said to the others on the bridge. "The way they talk, they act like no one can challenge them." Kate walked over to the big screen that showed space around them. The alien fleet was spread out near a large planet that looked brown and orange from this distance. There were at least 40 alien ships, but Kate was not worried. Human ships were different. They were faster, stronger, and carried weapons that the aliens had never seen before. "Sir, we are getting a message from the alien fleet," Jake said, looking up from his equipment. "They want to talk." Kate smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Put it on the main screen." The screen flickered and then showed an alien face. The creature had blue skin and large black eyes. Its mouth was small but full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into English. "Unknown vessels, you are in Zephyrian space without permission. State your business or prepare to be destroyed." Kate looked at the alien for a long moment. Then she stepped forward so the alien could see her clearly on their screen. "This is Admiral Kate Morrison of the United Earth Fleet. We are here because we know about your plans to attack our world. Leave this system now or we will make you leave." The alien made a sound that the computer said was laughter. "Earth? The primitive planet with the slow chemical rockets? You cannot threaten the mighty Zephyrian Empire. Surrender now and we will make you our servants instead of destroying you." Kate felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "You have 30 seconds to start moving away from this system. After that, we will consider you enemies and act accordingly." The alien showed its teeth in what might have been a smile. "Foolish humans. You will regret coming here." The screen went black. Kate turned to her crew. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. Prepare for battle. Target their command ship first. Show them what Earth can do." Ryan Hughes felt his hand shake a little as he prepared his weapons. He had trained for this moment for years, but it was different when it was real. His ship, the Lightning Strike, was one of the newest in the fleet. Its plasma cannons could punch through almost any armor, and its shields could absorb incredible amounts of damage. The alien ships began to move, forming up into attack formations. Kate could see they were confident, maybe too confident. They thought they were dealing with primitive humans who had somehow gotten lucky and built a few spaceships. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "All ships move to attack formation Beta," Kate ordered. "Destroyers take the flanks. Battle cruisers form the center line. Support ships stay back and be ready to help wounded vessels." Lisa Bennett coordinated the movement of dozens of ships with the skill of someone who had done this 1,000 times in simulations. Each ship moved to exactly the right place at exactly the right time. The human fleet spread out like a giant arrow pointing at the alien formation. Jake Sullivan continued to listen to alien communications. "Sir, they are confused. They keep asking each other how we got here so fast. They thought we were still using those old rocket ships they saw around Earth." Kate almost laughed. Earth had been very careful to hide its real technology from alien spies. The old rockets were still used for some things, but humanity had been building hyperspace ships in secret bases on the far side of the moon. The aliens had no idea what they were really facing. "Admiral, we are in range," Ryan reported. "All ships ready to fire." Kate looked at the alien fleet one more time. There were families on Earth who would never see their children again if the aliens won this fight. There were cities full of people who did not even know this battle was happening. Everything depended on what happened in the next few minutes. "Fire," she said. The space around the human fleet lit up with bright flashes as dozens of plasma cannons fired at once. The weapons that Dr. Alex Carter had spent years developing based on crashed alien technology were about to be tested in real combat for the first time. The energy bolts raced across space toward the alien ships, moving faster than anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Kate watched the tactical display as the first human shots reached their targets. What happened next would change everything. Fleet Commander Zithkar stood in the command center of his flagship, the Zephyrian vessel Darkstorm. Around him, dozens of his officers worked at their stations, confident in their superiority over the primitive humans who had somehow found their way to this system. The holographic displays showed detailed information about Earth that his scouts had gathered over many months of watching. "Commander, the human ships are moving into attack formation," his tactical officer Vexnar reported. "Should we be concerned?" Zithkar made the sound that his species used for amusement. His blue skin darkened slightly, which meant he was pleased. "Concerned about humans? Look at the data, Vexnar. Their fastest ships barely reach 1/10 of light speed. They still use chemical fuel to get off their planet. They are children playing with toys." The data on the screen seemed to support his confidence. Earth's technology appeared to be hundreds of years behind Zephyrian science. Their weapons used simple projectiles and basic energy systems. Their ships were small and looked fragile compared to the massive Zephyrian battle cruisers. Commander Beth Adams received the alien surrender demand through her ship's translation system. She was aboard the UES Storm Chaser, one of the human fleet's communication vessels. Her job was to handle all contact with alien forces, but this was the first time she had actually spoken to a hostile species. The message from the Zephyrians was long and filled with formal language about the superiority of their empire. They offered humanity a choice: become a servant species and work for Zephyrian masters, or be completely destroyed. The aliens seemed to think this was a generous offer. Beth read the message carefully, then sent it to Admiral Morrison. Within minutes, she received the Admiral's response. It was much shorter than the alien message and much more direct. "Send this back to them," Admiral Morrison had said. "Tell them exactly what I say, word for word." Beth opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. She could see the blue-skinned commander on her screen, looking confident and relaxed. He probably expected the humans to surrender immediately. "This is Commander Beth Adams of the United Earth Fleet," she said clearly. "Admiral Morrison has reviewed your offer and wishes to respond." The alien leaned forward slightly, his large black eyes focused on the screen. "Yes, human. Your leader accepts our generous terms?" Beth kept her voice steady and professional. "Admiral Morrison says that you can take your offer and shove it where your sun doesn't shine. She also says you have exactly 30 seconds to leave this system before we blow you out of space." The translation system worked perfectly, converting Beth's words into the alien language. She watched as the Zephyrian commander's expression changed from confidence to confusion to anger. "Impossible," Zithkar said. "No primitive species would dare speak to the Zephyrian Empire this way." "You do not understand what you are facing." Beth smiled coldly. "Actually, I think you are the one who doesn't understand. Earth has been preparing for this meeting for a very long time." Back on the Zephyrian flagship, Zithkar was studying the human ships more carefully. Something bothered him about their formation. The ships moved with precision that seemed beyond what primitive technology should allow. Their energy signatures were also strange, not matching what his scouts had reported about Earth's capabilities. "Vexnar, run a detailed scan of the human vessels. Something is not right here." His tactical officer began working frantically at his station. The results that came back made him pause and check his equipment twice. "Commander, the scans are not making sense. These ships are showing energy readings that should be impossible for human technology. Their shields are active, but I cannot determine what type they are using." Zithkar felt the first small doubt creep into his mind. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 17 different species over the past 1,000 years. Every time they had studied their enemies carefully before attacking. The humans should not be able to surprise them. Perhaps their technology has advanced since our last scouting mission, he said. No matter. They still only have a fraction of our numbers. On the human side, Lieutenant Jake Sullivan continued monitoring alien communications. The translation computers were working well and he could hear the aliens talking to each other on their military channels. Admiral, they are starting to have doubts, Jake reported. Their leader is asking questions about our ships. I think they expected us to be more afraid. Admiral Morrison nodded. Good. Fear makes people make mistakes. What else are they saying? Jake listened for a moment more. They keep talking about their previous conquests. Sounds like they have destroyed a lot of other species. They think we will be just another easy victory. The Admiral's face grew hard. Earth's intelligence services had suspected this, but hearing it confirmed made her angry. The Zephyrians were not just planning to attack Earth. They were professional destroyers of civilizations. Jake, can you record everything they are saying? We are going to need evidence of their crimes. Already doing it, sir. Every word is being saved. Captain Ryan Hughes watched his tactical displays as the two fleets moved closer together. The Zephyrian ships were large and powerful, but they moved in predictable patterns. Human military doctrine emphasized flexibility and surprise. The aliens seemed to prefer overwhelming force and direct attacks. Lightning strike to all destroyers, Ryan said into his radio. Remember the training simulations. Fast attacks, hit and run. Don't try to go head-to-head with their big ships. The destroyer captains confirmed their understanding. Each of them commanded a ship designed for speed and precision rather than raw firepower. Their job was to confuse the enemy and create opportunities for the larger human vessels. Zithkar was becoming more concerned as the human ships approached. Their movement patterns were sophisticated, showing tactical knowledge that primitive species should not possess. His own ships were following standard Zephyrian battle doctrine, which had worked against every previous enemy. All ships, prepare primary weapons, he ordered. Target the largest human vessels first. Once their command ships are destroyed, the rest will surrender. It was a strategy that had worked many times before. Most species became confused and frightened when their leaders were killed. The Zephyrians would then offer surrender terms to the survivors, who usually accepted rather than face complete destruction. Beth Adams received another message from the alien fleet. This time it was a final warning, giving humanity one last chance to surrender before the attack began. They say they will show mercy if we give up now, Beth reported to Admiral Morrison. They promised to only enslave half our population instead of destroying everyone. Admiral Morrison's response was immediate. Tell them that Earth doesn't negotiate with bullies. And tell them that they are about to learn why humans have never been successfully conquered by anyone. Beth sent the message and watched the alien commander's reaction on her screen. Zithakar's blue skin turned a darker shade and his small mouth opened to show his sharp teeth. Very well, humans. You have chosen death over wisdom. The Zephyrian Empire will remember this day as another easy victory. The communication channel closed. Both fleets were now close enough that their weapons could reach each other. The battle that would change the galaxy was about to begin. Dr. Alex Carter had not slept well in 3 years, not since the day the first alien ship crashed in Antarctica. The wreckage had been discovered by a scientific expedition studying climate change, but what they found changed everything humanity thought. They knew about their place in the universe. Alex remembered that cold morning when he first saw the twisted metal and strange crystal formations that made up the alien vessel. The technology was unlike anything humans had ever encountered. The power systems used principles that Earth scientists had only theorized about in their most advanced research papers. Working in a secret laboratory built under the ice, Alex and his team had spent months carefully taking apart the alien ship piece by piece. Every component taught them something new about physics, energy manipulation, and material science. The aliens used something called plasma fusion technology that could generate incredible amounts of power from very small fuel sources. Major Chris Taylor commanded the experimental destroyer UES Ranger, the first human ship to use the new stealth technology that Alex's team had developed. Chris had volunteered to test the untested systems because he understood how important this mission was for Earth's survival. The stealth system worked by bending light and energy around the ship, making it nearly invisible to most sensors. It was based on alien technology, but human engineers had improved it in ways the original designers never imagined. Where aliens built their tools to last forever, humans built them to be flexible and adaptable. Ranger to Admiral Morrison, Chris said quietly into his radio. Stealth systems are working perfectly. The aliens cannot see us at all. I am moving into position behind their main fleet. Chris felt excitement and fear mixing in his stomach as his ship glided silently through space. If the stealth system failed, his small destroyer would be facing the entire alien fleet alone. But if it worked, he would be able to strike where the enemy least expected it. Engineer Laura Martinez had spent the last 3 years of her life working on plasma torpedo systems. She barely remembered what her life had been like before the alien crash, when her biggest worry was designing better batteries for electric cars. Laura's workshop was deep underground in a facility that did not officially exist. Here, she had taken alien plasma technology and combined it with human engineering to create weapons that could destroy entire buildings with a single shot. Each torpedo contained enough concentrated energy to power a small city for a week. The testing had been dangerous. 2 of her assistants had been killed when an early prototype exploded during a safety test. Laura still had nightmares about that day, but she knew that the weapons had to be perfect. If they failed, Earth would be defenseless against alien invasion. All torpedo systems are ready, Laura reported from her station aboard the UES Thunderbolt. Each ship is loaded with full ammunition. The plasma warheads are stable and ready to fire. Admiral Morrison nodded. She trusted Laura completely, but she also knew that they were using technology that humanity barely understood. The alien ship in Antarctica had been damaged when it crashed, so there were gaps in their knowledge that they had to fill with educated guesses. Captain Derek Stone commanded the UES Iron Eagle, one of the 12 battle cruisers in the human fleet. His ship carried the largest plasma cannons that human technology could build, weapons powerful enough to punch through the armor of alien capital ships. Derek had been a military officer for 20 years, but he had never imagined fighting aliens in space battles. He had trained for wars on Earth, conflicts between human nations over resources and territory. This was completely different, but the basic principles of warfare remained the same. Hit hard, hit fast, and never give the enemy time to recover. Iron Eagle to all battlecruisers, Derek said. Remember, our plasma cannons have longer range than their weapons. We fire first and keep firing until they stop moving. The Zephyrian ships were impressive to look at, with their smooth, dark hulls and curved weapon arrays. They had been designed to intimidate enemies as much as to fight them. Each alien ship was larger than its human equivalent, built to demonstrate the power and superiority of the Zephyrian Empire. But the aliens had made their ships using old technology, systems that had not changed in hundreds of years. They were powerful and reliable, but they were also predictable. Human weapons had been designed specifically to fight these ships, using knowledge gained from studying the crashed alien vessel. All ships, target the alien flagship, Admiral Morrison ordered. Let's see how their shields handle our new toys. The human plasma cannons fired almost simultaneously, creating a brilliant display of light that could be seen across the solar system. Dozens of energy bolts raced toward the Zephyrian fleet at incredible speed, each one carrying enough power to destroy a human warship. The alien shields flared as the plasma bolts struck them. These defensive systems had protected Zephyrian ships for centuries, absorbing the energy weapons of 17 different conquered species. They should have been more than adequate to stop primitive human attacks. Instead, the shields collapsed completely on the first hit. Fleet Commander Zithkar watched in disbelief as his flagship's protective barriers simply vanished under the human assault. Warning lights flashed throughout his command center as damage reports came in from all over the ship. Impossible, Zithkar whispered. Our shields can stop any known weapon. How are they doing this? His tactical officer Vexnar was frantically checking his instruments. Commander, the human weapons are using some form of concentrated plasma technology. Our shields are designed to deflect energy beams and particle weapons, but this is something completely different. The second volley of human fire struck the dark storm before Zithkar could react. This time, the plasma bolts tore directly through the ship's armor plating, causing explosions throughout the vessel. Systems that had functioned perfectly for decades suddenly failed as superheated plasma burned through critical components. Major Chris Taylor watched from his hidden position as the alien fleet began to panic. Their confident formations broke apart as ships tried to avoid the devastating human weapons. It was the perfect time to strike from behind. Ranger attacking. Chris announced as his destroyer emerged from stealth directly behind 3 alien cruisers. His plasma torpedoes struck their unprotected rear sections, causing massive explosions that lit up the darkness of space. The aliens had never faced an enemy that could appear and disappear at will. Their tactical doctrine had no response to stealth attacks. Ships began firing randomly into empty space, hoping to hit the invisible human vessel. Laura Martinez monitored the performance of her weapons from the Admiral's flagship. The plasma torpedoes were working even better than she had hoped. Each hit was causing secondary explosions as alien systems overloaded under the intense energy bombardment. "Admiral, our weapons are exceeding all performance expectations," Laura reported with satisfaction. "The alien ships cannot handle this type of damage. Their technology is not designed to deal with plasma-based attacks." Captain Derek Stone pressed his advantage as the alien formation continued to crumble. His battlecruiser and its sisters poured fire into the confused enemy ships, destroying or disabling targets faster than the aliens could respond. "This is easier than the simulations," Derek said to his crew. "Their ships are tough, but they have obvious weak points. Once you get through their shields, they fall apart quickly." The battle that was supposed to be an easy Zephyrian victory was turning into a complete disaster for the alien fleet. Ships that had conquered star systems were being destroyed by primitives who should not have been able to hurt them. Admiral Morrison watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. The human fleet was winning, but she knew this was only the beginning. Once word of this battle reached other alien powers, Earth would face much larger and more dangerous enemies. "All ships, continue the attack," she ordered. "Leave no alien vessel operational. We need to send a clear message about what happens when someone threatens Earth." Fleet Commander Zithkar felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. Pure terror. His flagship, the Darkstorm, was dying around him as human plasma fire continued to tear through its hull. Sparks flew from damaged control panels while emergency lights cast strange shadows across the command center. "Damage report," he demanded, trying to keep his voice steady as another explosion rocked the ship. His engineering officer, Kextar, looked up from his station with wide, frightened eyes. "Commander, we have lost main power to decks 7 through 12. Life support is failing in multiple sections. Hull breaches on all levels. We are losing atmosphere rapidly." Zithkar could not understand how this was happening. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered dozens of worlds using these same ships and weapons. No enemy had ever penetrated their defenses so easily. The humans were supposed to be primitive, barely able to leave their own planet, sir. "Incoming message from the human admiral," his communications officer reported. Zithkar straightened his uniform and tried to look confident, even though his ship was falling apart around him. When the human woman appeared on his screen, he saw something in her eyes that made his blood run cold. She was not angry or excited about winning the battle. She looked calm and professional, like someone who was simply doing a job that needed to be done. "Fleet Commander Zithkar," Admiral Morrison said, "your fleet is destroyed. Surrender now and I will allow your surviving ships to return to your home system with a message." Zithkar wanted to refuse, to fight to the last ship as Zephyrian honor demanded, but he looked around his ruined command center and knew that continuing the battle would only result in the death of every Zephyrian in the fleet. "What message?" he asked quietly. "Tell your empire that Earth is under human protection now. Any attempt to attack our world will result in the complete destruction of your species. We did not come here to conquer anyone, but we will not hesitate to defend ourselves." Lieutenant Amy Foster was monitoring the alien fleet from her position aboard the UES Lightning Strike. She watched her displays as 12 Zephyrian ships tried to break away from the battle and escape into hyperspace. "Admiral, multiple alien vessels are attempting to flee the combat zone," she reported. "Should we pursue and destroy them?" Admiral Morrison considered the question carefully. Part of her wanted to hunt down every alien ship and make sure none of them survived to threaten Earth again, but she also understood the value of allowing some enemies to escape with news of their defeat. "Negative, Lieutenant. Let them go. Those ships will carry word of what happened here back to their empire. Sometimes it is better to have living enemies who are afraid of you than dead ones who cannot spread the word." Captain Nathan Clark had volunteered to lead the boarding party that would search the disabled Zephyrian cruiser Stormbreaker. His team consisted of 20 Marines equipped with the best protective gear that Earth could provide. None of them had ever set foot on an alien ship before, but they had trained extensively using data from the crashed vessel in Antarctica. Remember, we don't know what kind of atmosphere they breathe or what diseases they might carry. Nathan told his team as their shuttle approached the alien ship. Keep your suits sealed at all times. Our mission is to gather intelligence about their plans and capabilities. The inside of the Zephyrian ship was dark and filled with smoke from damaged systems. Nathan's team moved carefully through corridors that seemed too large for human comfort. Everything was built for creatures taller and broader than humans, with control panels positioned high on the walls. The alien crew they encountered was either dead or unconscious from the plasma bombardment. Nathan felt a moment of sympathy for these beings who had probably never expected to face an enemy capable of defeating them so completely. In the ship's command center, Nathan found what he was looking for, a complete database of Zephyrian military operations. The information contained in the alien computers would change everything humanity thought they knew about the galaxy. Captain Clark to Admiral Morrison, Nathan said into his radio, "You need to see what we found here. These aliens were not just planning to attack Earth. They have detailed invasion plans for 17 different star systems." Sergeant Kelly Davis was examining the alien tactical displays when she made a discovery that made her stomach turn. The screens showed images of other worlds that the Zephyrians had conquered, along with detailed records of what had happened to the native populations. "Sir, they keep records of everything," Kelly reported to Captain Clark. "Population numbers before and after invasion, resource extraction rates, survival statistics for enslaved species. This is not just military conquest. This is systematic extermination." The data showed that the Zephyrian Empire had destroyed civilizations across hundreds of light years, reducing proud species to scattered refugees or extinct memories. The invasion fleet that Earth had just defeated was part of a much larger war machine that had been operating for centuries. Nathan downloaded everything his team could carry from the alien computers. Earth's leaders needed to understand the true scope of the threat they were facing. The Zephyrians were not just another aggressive species competing for resources. They were professional destroyers of worlds. Back on the UES Thunderbolt, Admiral Morrison was reviewing the preliminary reports from the boarding teams. What she read made her realize that this victory was only the beginning of a much larger conflict. "Admiral, we are receiving transmissions from multiple sources," Lieutenant Jake Sullivan reported. "Some of them appear to be from the species that the Zephyrians have conquered. Word of our victory is spreading fast." Morrison walked over to Jake's station and listened to some of the translated messages. Most of them were desperate pleas for help from enslaved populations, asking if the humans who had defeated the Zephyrians could also free them from their oppressors. "How many different species are contacting us?" Morrison asked. "At least 12 so far, sir. The number keeps growing as more of them hear about what happened here." Morrison felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Earth had started this fight to protect their own world, but now they were being asked to become liberators for an entire galaxy full of oppressed peoples. The surviving Zephyrian ships were preparing to jump to hyperspace when Fleet Commander Zithkar received one final message from Admiral Morrison. "Commander, I want you to understand something important. Earth did not start this war, but we will finish it if your empire forces us to. We have no desire to rule over other species, but we will not allow anyone to threaten innocent worlds. Take that message back to your leaders." Zithkar nodded slowly. He had learned more about humans in the past few hours than his empire had discovered in months of spying on Earth. These were not primitive savages who had gotten lucky with advanced weapons. They were a species that had turned warfare into an art form through countless conflicts on their own world. "I will deliver your message, Admiral. But I must warn you that the Zephyrian Empire will not accept this defeat quietly. You have made powerful enemies today." Morrison's expression did not change. "We had powerful enemies yesterday too. The only difference is that now they know we can fight back." As the damaged alien ships disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Morrison turned to address her fleet. The battle was over, but she knew that larger conflicts were coming. "All ships begin search and rescue operations for any surviving aliens. We are not like them. We do not kill helpless enemies. Collect all intelligence materials and prepare for return to Earth. Command needs to know what we have learned here." The news of the Zephyrian defeat traveled across the galaxy faster than anyone had expected. Within days of the battle, Every major civilization had heard some version of the story. A primitive species called humans had appeared from nowhere and completely destroyed one of the most feared military forces in known space. Captain Sean Rodriguez commanded the UES Storm Rider, one of the human ships assigned to patrol the area where the battle had taken place. He was monitoring communications when the first official contact came from a friendly alien species. Human vessels, this is diplomatic cruiser Windsong of the Alterian Council. We wish to establish peaceful communication with your leaders. Sean had been briefed about the Alterians during his training. They were one of the few species in the galaxy that seemed to prefer peace over conquest. Intelligence reports suggested they had been fighting a defensive war against Zephyrian expansion for over 50 years. Windsong, this is Captain Rodriguez of the United Earth Fleet. We are authorized to speak with peaceful aliens.
What can we do for you?
The Alterian who appeared on Sean's screen was unlike any creature he had ever seen. The being stood about 7 feet tall, with pale green skin and large golden eyes that seemed to hold incredible wisdom. When it spoke, its voice was soft and musical. Captain Rodriguez, my name is Counselor Veltar. We have monitored the recent battle between your fleet and the Zephyrian Empire. We wish to thank you for your actions and offer our assistance in whatever way possible. Sean felt a mixture of relief and concern. It was good to know that not all aliens were hostile like the Zephyrians. But he also wondered what kind of assistance the Alterians might need from Earth. Ambassador Nicole Turner had been chosen to handle humanity's first diplomatic contact with friendly alien species. She was aboard the UES Horizon, a ship specially designed for peaceful missions rather than warfare. Nicole had spent her entire career working for the United Nations, helping different human countries resolve their conflicts without violence. Counselor Veltar, I am Ambassador Turner. Earth is very interested in establishing good relations with peaceful species like yours. What can you tell us about the current situation in this part of the galaxy? The Alterian diplomat seemed to relax slightly when he realized he was speaking with someone trained in peaceful negotiations rather than military conquest. Ambassador Turner, the situation is more complex than you might realize. The Zephyrian Empire has been expanding aggressively for centuries, but they are not the only threat we face. There are at least 3 other major powers that use similar tactics of conquest and enslavement. Nicole took careful notes as Veltar explained the political situation. The galaxy was divided into dozens of different territories, with aggressive empires constantly attacking smaller, peaceful civilizations. Most species lived in constant fear of invasion and conquest. The Alterian Council represents 12 different worlds that have banded together for mutual protection, Veltar continued. We have been fighting defensive wars for generations, barely able to protect our own people, let alone help others who are suffering under alien oppression. On Earth, President Linda Hayes was meeting with her top military and scientific advisors to discuss the implications of humanity's first interstellar victory. The conference room in the secure underground facility was filled with people who had spent the last 3 years preparing for alien contact. The good news is that we proved our weapons work, said General Frank Cooper, the man responsible for Earth's space defense programs. The bad news is that we have apparently walked into the middle of a galactic war that has been going on for hundreds of years. Dr. Alex Carter, the scientist who had reverse-engineered the alien technology, was studying reports from the boarding teams that had searched the Zephyrian ships. Madam President, the intelligence we gathered shows that this conflict is much larger than we initially thought. The Zephyrians have detailed records of at least 40 different species they have conquered or destroyed. Some of these civilizations had technology more advanced than our own. President Hayes felt the weight of the decision she was facing. Earth could try to stay out of the galactic conflict and focus on defending their own world, or they could get involved in helping other species fight for their freedom. What are our options, General? She asked. General Cooper pulled up a holographic display showing the local area of the galaxy. We can fortify our own system and hope the aliens leave us alone, or we can form alliances with peaceful species and help them fight back against the aggressive empires. Both options have significant risks. Back in space, Admiral Morrison was receiving regular reports about alien civilizations that were trying to contact the human fleet. The communications equipment aboard her ships was working overtime as dozens of different species attempted to establish contact. Admiral, we now have confirmed contact with 23 different alien civilizations, Lieutenant Jake Sullivan reported. 15 of them are asking for military assistance against various aggressive empires. 8 are offering to trade technology or resources in exchange for protection. Morrison realized that Earth's surprise appearance in galactic politics had created opportunities that no one had anticipated. Humanity had the chance to become a major power in galactic affairs, but only if they were willing to accept the responsibilities that came with that power. Jake, what about the aggressive species? Are any of them trying to contact us? Yes, sir. We have received messages from something called the Centauri Federation and the Draconian Empire. Both of them are demanding that we withdraw from what they call their territory and surrender our technology to them. Morrison laughed grimly. I guess some species never learn. What did you tell them? I sent them the same message you gave to the Zephyrians, sir. They have not responded. Yet. Captain Sean Rodriguez was continuing his conversations with the Alterian diplomat when he learned something that changed his understanding of the galactic situation completely. Counselor Veltar, how many species are currently fighting for their freedom against these aggressive empires? The Alterian was quiet for a long moment before answering. Captain, that is difficult to answer. Many civilizations have been completely destroyed, leaving no survivors to fight. Others have been enslaved for so long that they have forgotten what freedom means. But we estimate that at least 60 different worlds are currently engaged in some form of resistance against their oppressors. Sean felt a chill run down his spine. The galaxy was full of species fighting desperately for their survival, and until now, none of them had been strong enough to win against the major empires. What would happen if Earth decided to help coordinate resistance efforts? He asked. Veltar's golden eyes seemed to brighten with hope. Captain, that would change everything. Most of the resistance movements are isolated from each other, fighting alone against overwhelming odds. But if someone could unite them and provide advanced weapons technology, the balance of power in the galaxy could shift dramatically. Ambassador Nicole Turner was taking detailed notes about everything the Alterians were telling her. This information would be crucial for Earth's leaders as they decided how to respond to the galactic crisis. Counselor, what kind of assistance would the Alterian Council need to become more effective in fighting these empires? Ambassador, our greatest weakness is our defensive mindset. We have become very good at protecting our own worlds, but we lack the weapons and ships needed to take offensive action against our enemies. We also need better coordination with other resistance groups. Nicole realized that Earth was in a unique position. Humanity had advanced weapons technology and a military tradition that emphasized both offensive and defensive tactics. They could potentially become the leaders that the galactic resistance movement needed. I will take your requests back to my government counselor. I believe Earth is very interested in helping peaceful species defend themselves against aggression. As the conversations with friendly aliens continued, Admiral Morrison began to understand that humanity's choice was not simply between isolation and involvement. Earth had already become involved in galactic politics by defeating the Zephyrians. The only question now was whether they would lead the fight for freedom or wait for their enemies to grow stronger. The response from the Centauri Federation came 3 weeks after the battle with the Zephyrians, and it was not what anyone had hoped for. High Admiral Zexoth of the Centauri Warfleet sent a message that left no doubt about his empire's intentions toward humanity. Primitive species calling themselves humans, the message began. You have disrupted the natural order of the galaxy by interfering with legitimate Zephyrian expansion operations. The Centauri Federation demands that you immediately surrender your weapons technology and submit to our authority. Failure to comply will result in the complete destruction of your species. President Linda Hayes read the message in her secure office deep beneath the Pentagon. Around the table sat her most trusted advisors, including General Frank Cooper and Dr. Alex Carter. The mood in the room was tense as they discussed humanity's options. How large is this Centauri Federation? President Hayes asked. General Cooper consulted his intelligence reports. According to our Alterian contacts, the Centauris control over 200 star systems and maintain a military force of approximately 5,000 warships. They are significantly larger and more powerful than the Zephyrian Empire was. Dr. Carter looked up from his analysis of alien technology samples. Madam President, we need to understand that we are no longer dealing with a single enemy. Our victory over the Zephyrians has attracted the attention of every major power in this part of the galaxy. Some see us as potential allies. Others view us as a threat that must be eliminated. The decision to establish Earth's first off-world military base came after weeks of careful negotiation with the Alterian Council. General Marcus Wright had been chosen to command the new facility on Alteria Prime, the largest planet in the Alterian system. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the transport ship UES Pioneer as it approached the alien world. Through the large windows, he could see a planet covered in blue oceans and green continents that looked remarkably similar to Earth. The main difference was the presence of 3 moons in the sky and cities that glowed with soft bioluminescent light. General Wright, "This is Counselor Veltar," came the familiar voice of the Alterian diplomat. "Welcome to Alteria Prime. We have prepared facilities for your personnel and equipment according to your specifications." The base that the Alterians had built was impressive in its efficiency and attention to detail. Hangars for human ships, barracks for troops, workshops for maintaining equipment, and command centers for coordinating operations across multiple star systems. Everything had been designed to accommodate human needs while incorporating Alterian construction techniques. Colonel Stephanie Lewis was responsible for training programs that would prepare both humans and friendly aliens to fight together against the aggressive empires. She had spent months developing tactics that could take advantage of each species' natural abilities while compensating for their weaknesses. The key to success is understanding that each species fights differently, Stephanie explained to a mixed group of human Marines and Alterian security forces. Humans excel at rapid adaptation and aggressive tactics. Alterians are better at long-term strategic planning and defensive operations. When we combine these strengths, we become much more effective than either species could be alone. The training exercises were challenging for everyone involved. Humans had to learn to work with allies who thought and moved differently than they did. Alterians had to adapt to human-style tactics that emphasize speed and surprise over careful preparation. Remember, the enemy empires have been using the same basic tactics for centuries, Stephanie continued. They rely on overwhelming force and intimidation. They are not prepared to fight against opponents who can think creatively and adapt quickly to changing situations. Dr. Emma Thompson was leading the Joint Technology Development Program, working with Alterian scientists to improve both species' capabilities. The cooperation between human and alien researchers was producing advances that neither group could have achieved alone. The Alterians have mastered energy efficiency in ways that we never imagined, Emma explained to her human colleagues during a video conference with Earth. Their power systems can operate for centuries without maintenance. Meanwhile, our weapons technology is far more advanced than anything they have developed. The fusion of human and Alterian technology was creating new possibilities for space warfare. Ships that combined human firepower with Alterian endurance, weapons that used human plasma technology with Alterian precision targeting systems, and defensive shields that incorporated the best features of both species engineering. Dr. Thompson, we have successfully tested the new hybrid weapon systems, reported Dr. Kilneth, the lead Alterian scientist. The plasma cannons using our targeting computers are achieving accuracy rates of over 95% at maximum range. As news of the human-Alterian alliance spread throughout the galaxy, other species began to ask for similar partnerships. Captain Ben Miller commanded the UES Diplomat, a ship specially designed for establishing contact with new alien civilizations. Captain Miller, "This is Commander Hexara of the Vegan Republic," came a transmission from a nearby star system. "We have heard about your alliance with the Alterians and wish to discuss similar arrangements with Earth." Ben was pleased but cautious as he reviewed the intelligence reports about the Vegans. They were a peaceful trading civilization that had been suffering under attacks from Centauri raiders for over a decade. Their technology was less advanced than the Alterians, but they controlled strategic trade routes that could be valuable for supplying resistance operations. Commander Hexara, Earth is interested in establishing peaceful relations with all species that share our commitment to freedom and self-determination. What kind of assistance do you need? The Vegan response revealed the scope of the problem facing peaceful civilizations throughout the galaxy. Their merchant ships were being attacked regularly, their colonies raided for slaves and resources, and their government forced to pay tribute to multiple aggressive empires just to avoid total destruction. Captain Miller, we can offer Earth access to our trade networks and strategic resources in exchange for protection from the empires that are destroying our civilization. We have rare minerals that your technology requires, and shipping routes that could support military operations across multiple sectors. Meanwhile, the aggressive empires were forming their own alliances to counter the growing human influence. Intelligence reports indicated that the Centauri Federation was negotiating with the Draconian Empire and several smaller, aggressive species to create a coalition specifically designed to destroy Earth and its allies. Admiral Morrison received these reports aboard her flagship as the human fleet prepared for what everyone knew would be a much larger and more dangerous conflict. Admiral, our sources indicate that the enemy coalition is assembling a combined fleet of over 800 warships, Lieutenant Jake Sullivan reported. They plan to attack our base on Alteria Prime within the next 2 months. Morrison studied the tactical displays showing the positions of both friendly and hostile forces throughout the local area of the galaxy. The strategic situation was becoming more complex every day as new species chose sides in what was rapidly becoming a full-scale galactic war. Jake, what about our own allies? How many ships can we count on if the enemy attacks? The Alterians can provide approximately 60 combat vessels, and the Vegans have pledged 30 armed merchant ships. Several smaller species have offered support, but their contributions would be primarily in terms of supplies and intelligence rather than direct military action. Morrison realized that Earth was facing a critical decision point. They could try to defend their new allies with the forces they had available, or they could call for massive reinforcements from Earth and escalate the conflict to a level that would commit humanity to a full galactic war. Send a message to Earth Command, she decided. Tell them we need to talk about the future of human involvement in galactic affairs. The choices we make in the next few weeks will determine whether Earth becomes a major galactic power or watches our new allies be destroyed by the enemy coalition. The war that had begun with humanity's preemptive strike against the Zephyrian invasion fleet had grown into something that no one had anticipated. Within 6 months of that first battle, over 300 different species were involved in the conflict, choosing sides in what historians would later call the Great Galactic Liberation War. Admiral Morrison now commanded not just Earth's fleet, but a coalition of forces representing 47 different worlds. Her flagship, the UES Thunderbolt, had been joined by hundreds of alien vessels, creating the largest alliance fleet in galactic history. Admiral, incoming report from Captain Mitchell, Lieutenant Jake Sullivan announced from his communication station. Operation Ghost Strike was successful. 3 enemy supply depots destroyed, minimal coalition casualties. Captain Troy Mitchell had become legendary throughout the galaxy for his daring raids behind enemy lines. Using captured Centauri vessels modified with human stealth technology, his special operations group could appear anywhere in enemy territory without warning. Troy's latest mission had taken his team deep into Centauri space to attack the supply line supporting their massive invasion fleet. The enemy had been preparing for months to assault the coalition's main base on Alteria Prime, but now their ships would be running low on fuel and ammunition. Ghost Strike to Thunderbolt, Troy reported from the bridge of his modified alien cruiser. Enemy response time was slower than expected. Their security forces are being stretched thin by all the resistance activities in their territory. The success of human tactics had inspired dozens of other species to begin their own resistance movements against the aggressive empires. Planets that had been enslaved for generations were rising up, using weapons and training provided by Earth's Special Forces teams. Commander Rachel Scott was responsible for defending New Geneva, humanity's first colony world outside the solar system. The planet had been established in a strategic location between Earth and the main battle zones, serving as a supply base and refugee center for species fleeing the war. All defensive positions. This is Command, Rachel announced over the base communication system. Long-range sensors detect a large enemy fleet approaching our system. All civilians are to report to the underground shelters immediately. The Centauri invasion force consisted of over 200 warships, far more than the 30 ships assigned to defend New Geneva. According to every tactical manual ever written, the colony should have been doomed, but Rachel had spent months preparing for this moment, and she had advantages that the enemy did not expect. Enemy fleet is entering weapons range, reported her tactical officer. They are demanding our immediate surrender. Rachel smiled grimly. Tell them that humans don't surrender. Then activate the planetary defense grid. The Centauri fleet commander had expected to face a few human ships protecting a defenseless colony. Instead, his forces encountered a nightmare of hidden weapons platforms, mobile defense drones, and civilian colonists armed with military-grade equipment. The colonists of New Geneva included farmers, miners, engineers, and teachers, but every one of them had received military training before leaving Earth. When the planetary defense grid failed to stop the enemy landing forces, the colonists grabbed their weapons and joined the professional soldiers in defending their new home. Sector 7 under attack, came a report from the colony's eastern district. Centauri ground forces have landed near the mining facilities. Roger that, Rachel responded. Civilian defense teams Alpha and Beta move to support Sector 7. Remember your training and stay in communication with regular forces. The battle for New Geneva became a turning point in the Galactic War when news reports showed ordinary human civilians fighting alongside professional soldiers to defend their homes. Species throughout the galaxy watched in amazement as farmers and teachers used improvised weapons to destroy alien war machines. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Thompson led one of the civilian defense teams, coordinating between people who had never been soldiers and the professional Marines they were supporting. The key is to remember that we know this terrain better than they do, Mark told his mixed group of volunteers and soldiers. Use every advantage we have. Fight smart, not just hard. The Centauri forces had expected resistance from human military units, but they were completely unprepared to fight against an entire population that refused to be conquered. Every building became a fortress, every street became a battlefield, and every civilian became a potential threat. Enemy commanders are requesting reinforcements, Jake Sullivan reported to Admiral Morrison from his monitoring station. They are calling the human colonists the most dangerous non-military force they have ever encountered. Admiral Morrison felt pride mixed with concern as she listened to the reports from New Geneva. The colonists were proving that humanity's fighting spirit was not limited to professional soldiers. But she also knew that the enemy would respond with even greater force. Jake, what is the status of our relief fleet?
ETA 4 hours, Admiral.
Captain Williams is pushing his engines to maximum, but the enemy will have those 4 hours to do as much damage as possible. The defense of New Geneva continued for 18 hours before Captain John Williams arrived with reinforcements. By then, the colonists and their military defenders had inflicted such heavy casualties on the Centauri invasion force that the enemy commander decided to retreat rather than continue the costly assault. New Geneva Control. This is Captain Williams aboard the UES Liberty. Sorry we are late to the party. Looks like you handled things pretty well without us. Rachel Scott surveyed the battlefield from her command post, looking at the wreckage of alien war machines scattered among the colony buildings. The cost had been high, with over 300 human casualties, but they had proven something important to the galaxy. Captain Williams, tell Admiral Morrison that New Geneva is secure, and tell her that word of this battle is already spreading to other worlds. Our civilian defenders have become heroes to resistance movements throughout the galaxy. The victory at New Geneva marked the beginning of a new phase in the Galactic War. Species that had been passive, victims of imperial aggression, began to understand that ordinary citizens could fight back effectively against professional military forces if they had the right training and equipment. Dr. Emma Thompson was working around the clock to provide weapons and technology to resistance groups on dozens of different worlds. The Joint Human-Alien Research facilities were producing equipment designed specifically for guerrilla warfare and civilian defense. We are developing weapon systems that can be manufactured using materials available on almost any inhabited world, Emma reported during a conference call with Earth Command. Simple but effective tools that allow ordinary people to fight against advanced military forces. The impact of widespread resistance was exactly what Earth's military strategists had hoped for. The aggressive empires found themselves fighting on hundreds of different fronts simultaneously, unable to concentrate their forces for decisive battles. General Marcus Wright coordinated resistance activities from his base on Alteria Prime, working with leaders from dozens of different species to plan operations across multiple star systems. The enemy coalition has superior numbers and firepower, Marcus explained during a strategy meeting. But they are used to fighting conventional wars against organized military forces. They do not know how to deal with an entire galaxy full of angry civilians who refuse to stay conquered. The war was becoming something that neither side had originally planned. What had started as a conflict between military forces was turning into a struggle between two completely different ways of organizing galactic civilization, Admiral. Morrison understood that humanity had become the catalyst for something much larger than a simple military victory. They were leading a revolution that would either free the galaxy from centuries of imperial oppression or result in the complete destruction of every species that dared to resist the established order. All coalition forces. This is Admiral Morrison, she announced during a fleet-wide communication. We are not just fighting for our own survival anymore. We are fighting for the future of every intelligent species in the galaxy. The empires want to turn us all into slaves or corpses. We choose freedom. 3 years after their first appearance in galactic space, humanity had fundamentally changed the balance of power throughout known civilization. The aggressive empires that had terrorized peaceful species for centuries lay in ruins, their fleets destroyed and their governments overthrown by their own people. Admiral Morrison stood in the Great Assembly Hall on Alteria Prime, looking out at representatives from over 200 different worlds. The species gathered here represented every form of intelligent life that the galaxy had produced. Beings of crystal and metal, creatures of pure energy, and organic life forms in shapes that human imagination had never conceived. 3 years ago, Earth entered galactic space because we learned that aggressive aliens were planning to destroy our world. Morrison began her address to the newly formed Galactic Assembly. We came here as refugees looking for a way to protect our home and our people. The translation systems worked smoothly, converting her words into hundreds of different languages and communication methods. Some species heard her speech as sound waves. Others received it as patterns of light or electrical impulses. But the message was the same for everyone. The galaxy had been transformed. What we found was a civilization built on fear, where the strong preyed upon the weak and entire species lived in terror of their neighbors. That galaxy no longer exists. Captain Julia Baker commanded the UES Enterprise, flagship of the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Her ship was a symbol of the new order, crewed by humans and aliens working together to prevent future wars and protect the rights of all intelligent species. Enterprise to all peacekeeping vessels, Julia announced during a routine patrol of the former Centauri territory. Remember that our mission is to protect, not to conquer. We are here to make sure that no species ever again faces the choice between slavery and extinction. The peacekeeping force represented everything that was different about the new galactic order. Instead of massive war fleets designed to destroy entire civilizations, it consisted of smaller ships equipped for defense, rescue operations, and humanitarian assistance. Dr. Emma Thompson had been appointed as the first director of Galactic Technology Sharing, responsible for ensuring that all species had access to the scientific advances that could improve their lives. The old system of technological secrecy and military advantages had been replaced by open cooperation and mutual assistance. Today we are announcing the completion of the Universal Medical Database. Emma reported during a broadcast to all member worlds. This system contains treatment information for diseases affecting every known species in the galaxy. No one will ever again die from illnesses that could be easily cured if the right knowledge was available. The medical database was just one example of how galactic civilization was being rebuilt. Similar projects were sharing agricultural techniques, environmental protection methods, and engineering knowledge that could help every world develop according to its own needs and values. Ambassador Nicole Turner had become Earth's permanent representative to the Galactic Assembly, working to resolve disputes between species and coordinate responses to emergencies. Her job required understanding not just different languages, but completely different ways of thinking about life and society. The Vegan Republic has requested assistance with the ecological restoration of their mining worlds. Nicole reported during a session of the Assembly Council. The Alterian Council has offered to share their bioregeneration technology, and Earth can provide the industrial equipment needed for large-scale environmental rehabilitation. The cooperative approach to solving problems was producing results that amazed everyone involved. Worlds that had been devastated by centuries of exploitation were being restored to health. Species that had been enemies for generations were learning to work together for mutual benefit. President Linda Hayes addressed the people of Earth from her office in Washington, explaining how humanity's role in galactic affairs was continuing to evolve. My fellow citizens, When we first learned about the existence of alien civilizations, many people feared that contact would be dangerous for our world. Instead, we have discovered that Earth's greatest strength is our ability to bring different peoples together in pursuit of common goals. The changes on Earth itself had been almost as dramatic as the transformation of galactic civilization. Contact with dozens of alien species had revolutionized human science, medicine, art, and philosophy. Earth's cities now hosted alien visitors. Its universities taught courses in xenobiology and interstellar law, and its children grew up knowing that they were part of a vast galactic community. General Marcus Wright had been promoted to Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense, responsible for maintaining the military forces needed to protect the new civilization from any future threats. His headquarters on Alteria Prime coordinated peacekeeping operations across hundreds of star systems. The key to maintaining peace is making sure that no single species becomes so powerful that they can threaten others, Marcus explained to a gathering of military commanders from allied worlds. Our strength comes from cooperation, not domination. The military doctrine of the new galactic order emphasized defense over offense, protection over conquest. The massive war fleets that had once terrorized peaceful worlds had been replaced by smaller, more flexible forces designed to respond quickly to threats while avoiding the temptation to abuse their power. Captain Sean Rodriguez had been assigned to explore the outer regions of the galaxy, searching for species that might not yet have heard about the changes in galactic civilization. His ship, the UES Pathfinder, carried diplomats, scientists, and humanitarian supplies rather than weapons of war. Pathfinder to Galactic Command, Sean reported from a previously unknown star system. We have made contact with a species called the Harmony Collective. They have been in hiding for over 1,000 years, afraid to reveal themselves because of the aggressive empires. They are very interested in joining the Galactic Assembly. Each new discovery reinforced the lesson that humanity had learned during their first contact with the Alterians. The galaxy was full of peaceful, intelligent species that had been suppressed by the aggressive empires. As word of the new order spread, dozens of hidden civilizations emerged from their refuges to join the growing community of free worlds. The economic transformation of galactic civilization was as important as the political changes. The old system of tribute and exploitation had been replaced by voluntary trade and mutual assistance. Species could develop their resources according to their own values, sharing their prosperity with others through fair exchange rather than forced submission. Dr. Kilneth, the Alterian scientist who had worked with Dr. Thompson on weapons development, was now leading a project to establish communication networks that would connect every inhabited world in the galaxy. The greatest weapon against tyranny is information. Kilneth explained during the dedication ceremony for the new galactic communication system. When all peoples can speak to each other freely, it becomes impossible for any group to spread the lies and fear that make oppression possible. Admiral Morrison had been offered the position of Supreme Commander of all galactic forces, but she had declined, preferring to return to Earth and help prepare humanity for its continuing role as a leader in galactic affairs. The galaxy does not need supreme commanders, she said during her farewell address to the Galactic Assembly. It needs partners working together toward common goals. Earth will always be ready to help defend freedom and justice, but we will never seek to rule over others. As Morrison's shuttle approached Earth for the first time in 3 years, she looked out at the blue and green world that had started the galactic revolution. Earth looked the same as when she had left, but she knew that everything had changed. Humanity had discovered that their greatest enemy was not alien invasion, but the isolation that prevented different species from understanding each other. The children growing up on Earth and on hundreds of other worlds would live in a galaxy where cooperation was normal, where different species worked together to solve problems, and where no one lived in fear of their neighbors. It was not a perfect civilization, but it was one where freedom and dignity were possible for everyone. Earth Control. This is Admiral Morrison requesting permission to come home, she said into her radio as her shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere. Welcome home, Admiral, came the reply. The planet that changed the galaxy is ready to welcome back the woman who made it happen. Morrison smiled as she saw the familiar continents and oceans below her. Earth had been ready when the galaxy needed them. Now it was time to see what wonders the future would bring to a civilization built on hope, instead of fear.